I've been asked to show the 50 most interesting things in my hobby room. Well, 52 actually, by Jeremy over at Blackmagic Craft. This was started by Trent over at, sort of miscast Trent. It's an old thing. For those of you that are old and used to watch hobby YouTube back in the day, these things kind of happened, and now it's happening again, and that's just fun. So I'm going to show you 52 interesting things from my hobby room. And at the end of the video, I'll pass this on to some other creators. Number 1. This Citadel miniatures pin. That's Games Workshop. This is for your jacket. You pin it on your jacket just to show what's important here in life. And I just wish pins were still a thing. Should be a thing. Especially pins with a Chaos miniature on it. This Wargames Atlantic Classic Fantasy Guards kit. This kit is the kit that has brought me the most joy in kit bashing fantasy miniatures in a very long time. Excuse the mess. These iLoud speakers, monitors. If you're working with audio and you don't want to break your budget and you still actually want to hear what it is you've recorded, even if it's a voiceover for YouTube or anything like that, IK Multimedia iLoud little tabletop speakers, great stuff, love them. This is an MDF kit from Brutal Cities. It's wargaming terrain for the sort of now or future, made by Ryan. I saw this stuff quite some time ago and reached out to Ryan, who makes the terrain, and made videos about it, and we became friends. And I just think there's nothing really like it in the gaming sphere. It's just this sort of brutalist designs that, I don't know, I just love them. I love putting this on the table. It's just awesome. Brutal Cities MDF terrain. Thanks, Ryan, for existing. I've got a book over here. It's just really complicated getting to it because I got a complicated workshop. The Major by Mobius is a comic, I guess. Mobius is really well known for his art. Absolutely wonderful stuff. This is a comic, which is kind of like reading poetry and is utterly inspiring. It's just black and white drawings that twist your mind into great places. The Major. Ah, there it is. Whoa, sorry, pin. Yeah, this is Warzone miniatures. I love Warzone miniatures, but this kit, which is the mourning, as in you're sad because your husband died or wife, wolves. And this kit just represents everything that was both right and I guess wrong with the miniature world back then. This has everything. It has like what hot chicks with swords should look like, and it's got they've got like Kiss, the band, makeup. It's like everything from the time of Conan and rock bands and all of this put into this terribly tacky set of miniatures. And don't get me wrong, there's lovely Warzone miniatures that aren't tacky, but this just represents something that is sort of museum worthy. These little containers contain small faces made out of green stuff, made by my friend Veronica, Florentia Grotesque. And I'm kind of scared of using them. They're lovely, and it just shows what you can do with a little blob of green stuff or milliput. So very inspiring. This is a field workshop kit, a scale model kit containing a field workshop. It's got an enormous amount of bits, everything from tables to chairs to ladders to gas cylinder thingies to tools, hammers, oil drums. And these kind of things exist in different scales, and I'm still amazed by the fact that, one, the fantasy and that kind of miniature game environment doesn't make this kind of stuff, and two, that we don't buy this stuff anyway and use it in like our dioramas or on our tables, because this stuff is so fun to use. Go to your local scale model store and be happy. My first and foremost source of inspiration when painting comes from art. And, you know, people talk about grimdark and sawn palette and all of this. I just don't see why we shouldn't just go kind of straight to the source, which is Bosch, Hieronymus Bosch. I mean, I can't worship this any more than I already do. So please, check out Bosch. Also, of course, Bruegel is in there as well for any grimdark inspiration. And welcome the coming of hell. This item is the cause of much concern. It's resin yogurt. This over here is my 3D printer. This is my wash station. I used to have this in the basement, not really worrying about anything else than nothing really, because it was all working out fine. Then I moved to this lovely place that has windows. Apparently, that means there's UV light shining in, and weird things have happened. So my relatively sort of greyish, but slightly clear isopropyl alcohol has transformed into a solid lump of resin yogurt. And this is just such a pain. This like I need to get into full protective covering gear and put this in some kind of, scrape it out, get it into a bucket, take that to the recycling station, figure out how to sort this out so that the UV light from the windows doesn't mess up my 3D printing. But for now, I'm just ignoring it, and this is my pet resin yogurt. I'm sure it speaks to me sometimes. This is sort of rubberish plaster rock molds. I believe they're from the same company that makes the plaster, Woodland Scenics. Now this is mainly used in the model railway building community. And again, it sort of astounds me why we don't talk, same as with the scale model community, because this is a great way of making rocks for dioramas, for tabletop terrain, anything. Once you get the mold, you can make sort of as many as you want really cheaply, because plaster is not expensive, and these rocks come out great. A little trick of mine is to actually put some black pigment powder into the plaster mix, making a very dark grey or even slightly blackish plaster, so that if it chips when on the gaming table, it won't really be visible, because it'll still just look like a dark grey rock. This is a miniature gifted to me by Midwinter Minis Guy. He gave it to me when I was there visiting him. It's been in many of his battle reports of old, and it's the only 40k orc I've got, and it's got a bum, which just makes, well, I'll be honest and say this is the way I place him on the shelf, and I just like looking at it. I guess I like orc bums, but there we are. It's just a nice reminder of the great people you meet in the hobby, and the friends spread out all over the world, represented by a green bum. This is the old Citadel paints I had when I was painting as a kid. I still keep them around. I don't really use them, but they're a great reminder. It's nostalgia, okay? I just love the look of these. Here's snakebite leather. They're just brown poo color. But it's just sometimes a nice reminder when you know, this is what I painted with as a kid, and I was just happy that I had a green, you know, and then I had a brown, and there was a couple of washes and a couple of metallics, and this is what you brought along when you were painting with someone. I just took out of your box to paint. This was it. And sometimes I'm kind of a bit envious of the simplicity of things that used to be. new paints are fun, and so here is cadmium red, but this is cadmium-free cadmium red, and it's my most favorite red. This is Liquitex acrylic gouache paint. This means that it's gouache paint, but it actually doesn't reactivate. Sometimes reactivation is great, sometimes it's not. This just works like a regular miniature paint. And this red, to me, is the red. It kicks ass. It's sort of warm, orangish. Everything I'd like in a red, and mixes really well with other colors. Liquitex acrylic gouache, cadmium-free cadmium red. I was going to say yellow there. There's more. This is medium. This is light. And then there's a dark. Cork bark. I don't think there's a diorama or a base or a piece of wargaming terrain pretty much that I haven't put cork bark onto in some shape or form. You can use it. They come in these big logs, you know. Usually you can get them in pet stores because fishes like them, I think. You can use big chunks as rocks, or you can just nibble off little pieces of edges of it and use as rocks on bases and stuff like that. And the texture of it translates beautifully into the miniature realm as something that looks like a miniature rock. And while we're in here, this is my little grimdark box. This contains Army Painter's Battlefield Razor Wire, as well as some of these sheets that I believe might be from Green Stuff World? I can't remember. And usually there's some skulls and stuff in here as well, but it seems to be empty on the skull front. I just like having little boxes of thematics. So instead of just having practical, this is all the rocks, this is all the skulls, you know, have a grimdark little box for your grimdark bases, and then maybe have a wood little box for your wood bases and rock. You get it. Grimdark box. More art. This is Enki Bilal, one of my favorite comic artists. That went well. Oh, whoops. Just look at this picture, right? Wow. And maybe just, oh no, there she was again. Darn it, this is not going well. Just look at that picture. Just look at this picture. It's French, you know, it explains, I mean, just look at that picture. So yes, there's naked ladies, but it's French. There's also naked men. So Enki Bilal, lovely art. Yeah. And while we're on the subject, remember Mutant Chronicles? I said it wasn't all tacky. This is the proof. Again, it's just this is in Swedish. Just what a great game, and just the I don't know. Things just seemed a lot more fun back in the day. I don't know why I think that. I'm probably just nostalgic, seeing as this was around when I was growing up. But I just think this is fun, and it's not Warhammer, but it just breathes the same age, the same sort of, you know, when Warhammer was created, this was also created. This doesn't exist anymore in the same way as Warhammer does, but it used to exist, and I kind of like to honor that with the memory of having these books around. We're not really spoilt when it comes to transfers or decals in our sort of Warhammer side of the miniature world. The scale model people, however, are. So I try and find fun transfers, because I love transfers in the scale model realm. This, for example, is for oil drums. There's, lots of beautiful sort of vintage retro looking transfers that work so great even in a sort of grim dark world, that for things that aren't insignias on shoulder pads. And I wish there was more of that around for us. But as there isn't, I check out the scale model side of things. This is plastic card I-beams. They're made out of styrene, I guess. You can get lots of different plastic card, just like thin sheets for crafting. There's I-beams, there's L-beams, round pipes, all this kind of stuff. And I just love having this when sort of scratch building, adding details to MDF builds or whatever, MDF kits. Just these really industrial looking I-beams. There's different sizes and everything. Just really cool stuff. This is from Plastruct. I'm over by my oil paints here. This is my little... sometimes I just stand here and pet them. Anyway, I'm actually going to go for a color, which is Purple Madder. This is the color of the day, Purple Madder. I'm not going to say more. Just get Purple Madder. Here's another miniature. This was a gift. I met up with a patron in the north of England. We had a pint at a pub, and he gifted me this. I think it's a historical mini. It's metal. It's a chieftain, like a Northern England chieftain or king or something like that. And when I was out for a walk, I picked up a stone, which is the base. It's just the one rock, also from the north of England. And it just represents things to me, the kindness of the people that support me on Patreon, the fact that you, in this hobby, can sort of go to a pub and have a pint with someone else you've never met, and you're likely to have a good time because they also paint miniatures. And just the giving of gifts is a great thing. I painted it with oil paint, only oil paint, and the mood just suits the mini, I think. This is what I'm working on right now. I'm in love with this little project. I'm scratch building a cog fort for Age of Sigmar. I just had to put it in this video because I guess it's an interesting thing from my workshop. There's lots of things left to do here, but yeah, everyone should scratch build stuff. I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm just saying I'm enjoying myself, okay? Now, this one's not very exciting, but I just realized I wanted to share my snap blade knife. This, apart from a brush, is the tool I use the most. I could not do this hobby without a snap blade knife. And this has been in my hand for 8-9 years now. It was probably in someone else's hand before that because it was already used when I got it. And it's such a comforting tool and the best tool I have apart from a brush. I kind of wish I'd used balsa wood more in the past. I haven't. I just recently got this, and it's such a great material, and it's not cheap, but when in the miniature world, we don't really use that much, and so hence it's not really all that expensive. And I don't know, you can carve it so easily, so you can make like the greatest wooden beams or bits and pieces for trenches, and I just love it. Just the carving aspect of being able to essentially, it's like putty in your hands, but it's wood, and so I'm really fallen in love with balsa wood. For reasons kind of difficult to explain in a short video, I've got this leather suitcase. It's just standing here because it looks great. And it's actually a real suitcase. All these stickers and everything are actually real. And they were part of the Swedish diplomatic mission to Yokohama. His guy was Trodesson. And it's just a very cool old leather suitcase with lots of beautiful stickers on it. Everyone needs one of these. Just right now the sun is shining and now it's raining heavily. Anyway, this is decoupage glue from Systrarna Grene, which you might not have them. It's a sort of cheap hobby crafts kind of a store, at least in North Europe. The point here is this says decoupage glue, which is the same as Mod Podge, only this is a lot cheaper. And so this represents the fact of I always try and find out what's in stuff and what it's made out of, or if there's other names for it. And that way I usually can find cheaper alternatives, because this is way cheaper than Mod Podge. Here's another example. This is just called modeling paste, and it turns out to be, it's just an acrylic paste, which is a great binder for making like texture pastes and stuff. Anyway, figuring out what's in stuff is really cool. This is a miniature I've not yet dared to paint. The Sea Jotnar for the Nords faction, the Artisan series for Conquest. This miniature is so cool. It's gorgeous. And it's one of the few miniatures I just haven't really dared painting yet, because I just know I would spend so much time on it. But it's here and waiting, I guess maybe for retirement. This is an ink I got in an art store in London, but the paint is actually from Germany. It's an ink. It's called Antique Tusch. Tusch is German for ink, I guess. It's the same in Swedish. This color is called Caput Mortuum, which is the color of a dead person, I guess, after it's been dead for a while. It's a lovely color, brownish, reddish, you know, and these inks are really fun because they don't actually reactivate. You can paint over them, and the bottles are lovely, and there's more paint in here than I can use for an entire lifetime, and the name of the paint is really cool. Oh, and I think originally this is one of the colors that used to have mummy in it. There was mummy brown, which had mummy in it. I think this one had mummy as well, but I'm not sure. But I'm gonna live like this has mummy in it, because paint needs more mummy in it. And I'm not talking about your mum. I'm talking about the dead Egyptian folk. Now it's kind of difficult to film your camera with your camera, so I had to do this. This is one of the special items in my workshop, which is the camera I film all my videos with. It's a Blackmagic Pixis, which is kind of overkill for what is done. Well, it's not overkill for what is done. It's overkill for the amount of subscribers and viewers and money involved. But there we are. This is my studio camera for making hobby videos, the Blackmagic Pixis. Jeremy had an example of wood glue in his 50 Great Things from his workshop, and so I'm going to counter him with this. Take this, Jeremy. Gorilla wood glue. Love it. Ridiculous priced wood glue for the world. Up here on top of my backup is a piece of art made by myself and Veronica that made the faces I showed before. This was done for Jeremy's release, I guess, of his game, Idols of Torment. This is crafted from all kinds of things, but mostly miniatures from the Idols of Torment game. You can see them making that face. There's all the souls, lost souls. And we tried to get this perspective going from, you know, wandering in their It was great fun. I once made a video about the fact that it's really dumb that there's no female Space Marines, and that's a really weird hole that Games Workshop has dug for itself. The video earned me a place on the top list of woke miniature channels, which is one of the proud moments in my life. Now, for the video, I also, together with Juan Gomez, made this lovely work of art of a female space warrior. She's called Eve, of course. She is the evolution. You can download this as a poster, I think as a PDF from my website, if you want this lovely poster in your life for free. It's also really nice to just print out in a small size and put in terrain and stuff like that. But this is Eve. She hangs here on my wall and reminds me of the fact that I won't rest until there's official female Space Marines. Masking tape. I think it's one of the tools we use not enough in this hobby. This is regular masking tape from the hardware store for sort of indoor use. I love the stuff, and it's not exciting, but sometimes you just need to see the bleak reality of life and accept that masking tape might be part of it. I realize I've got a little personal shrine, a family shrine of sorts. This is a picture of my son from when he was a lot smaller that I really like. Underneath it, this is above my workstation, is one of these things. Some of you will probably recognize it. This is my grandfather's. He had 3 of these on his shoulder, on each shoulder, letting you know of his rank. And these have pretty much seen the entirety of the Second World War. And for some reason, I don't even know how this ended up in my workspace. It's a rattle I had as a kid. There's some random things, all right. Golden, soul flats, fluorescent pink. This is the most fluorescent of pinks I have witnessed. And it just banishes any other fluorescent pink that I've got around for whenever I just want a little bit of color in my life. I'm sorry, but I haven't found a better place for these yet. And this, again, is a bit personal, but I want to show it because it kind of says a lot about the people in this hobby. And these are all miniatures that were sent to me or given to me as gifts from patrons when they heard about the fact that I was going through a divorce, which was several years ago. And these are all sort of either supposed to, no, that's not one, here's another one. These are supposed to sort of represent me, or, you know, just random minis to cheer me on. Here I am with a paintbrush with different paints on and all kinds of stuff. I think this says a lot about the sort of miniature community. There's several more in here. Yeah, my storage system isn't really optimal. But it says a lot about the sort of miniature community. I just wanted to say thanks again to all my patrons for being such lovely people, and for a lot of people in this miniature community, helping each other out and just standing by the sides of our next hobbyist. It's great stuff. So let's just keep that up, shall we? So this is a bit of a classic. It's a bit boring, I guess, because you would have seen this maybe. Everyone talks about Frank Frazetta, and I think this is a lovely book. Frank Frazetta has inspired a lot of miniature painters. It's also very moody, and it translates really well into sort of miniature painting. I think a lot of his work. So I really can see why. But I have to admit, you know, now that we're on the trying to get back on that woke list, a lot of this falls into the same kind of category as the miniatures I showed just for fun earlier, the Warzone miniatures with the hot chicks and the Kiss makeup and the Conan the Barbarian and all of this kind of stuff. It's from days that have passed. So I kind of suggest a bit of a filter I think Frank Frazetta is a great source of inspiration when it comes to moods and everything. But, you know, I just kind of pick out the things that are just fantasy-ish looking with less bums and tits. You know, we saw it with the Bilal thing as well. So, I don't know. It's good to have a bit of a filter, and maybe also sometimes it's good to change out the heroes. Everyone agrees on the fact that Frank Frazetta is some kind of god within the inspirations of miniature painting, but sometimes also gods have to be renewed a little bit, I guess. Still love this book. It's still lovely art. It's part of sort of miniature painting history in a fun way, and on so many covers, on so many books. So I'm not saying I'm going to chuck this book out or anything like that. I'm just saying we should talk about these things and think about them. Lovely art, though. This is the old Citadel painting handle. I just don't understand why painting handle evolution had to evolve from this, because this is perfection. Ivory black. The thing is, it came as a revelation one day when I was looking at art paints and realized that there's lots of different blacks. There's charcoal black, there's lamp black, there's Mars black, there's ivory black, and they're actually made from different things. And the strange thing is that they tint differently when you mix them into other paints. Some are colder, some are warmer. And to me, this was fantastic news, because I could now dive into the realm of black paints. And I have to say, mixing wise, my favorite is ivory black for now. This is a broken robot that breaks my heart, that was built by myself and mostly by my friend Oscar. We made a video. It's a really fun video that completely tanked, building this lovely puppet robot. And it breaks my heart because he's broken, he's in pieces, and it needs to be fixed, and it needs to get a proper spot, because it's such a lovely, like a spot around the workshop, because it's, look, he's waving. You know, it's like the cutest robot ever built, and all I do is just keep it in a broken pile. It's sad. This is a hat over my 6x4 foot gaming table. I mean, I enjoy looking at it, but it's not out all the time. Can't be bothered getting the other half down. You'll have to watch the video for that. This kind of represents a lot of things for me, especially it's a very good picture of how my mind works. I just get the one small silly idea, let's just build a scenic gaming table. And then years later, and months and months and months of work, you know, you get something like this. It's a bit fascinating figuring out how your mind works. You know how you can get little plant leaves and stuff like that made out of sort of paper from Gamer's Grass? This is exactly sort of the same, but they're made out of metal. And I've only used a few of these. I kind of don't dare use them. They're absolutely glorious. They're made by, I think it's called Chikov Studios, maybe. I don't even know if this is around anymore. I can't remember where it was from. I just remember getting these. Just look at these fern leaves. And you can bend every single one just in any direction you want. It's lovely stuff. Biostrip. I've heard rumors they don't make this anymore. And so if you find any, like sitting on the shelves in your hobby store or something like that, get it. It's the best paint stripper I've used, personally at least. If you get an army off of eBay or just the miniatures you want to strip the paint off of, this stuff works like a charm. This is some pictures I have from bits and pieces of an old exhibition. I had at some point. This is a portrait of Mark E. Smith of The Fall, shot quite some time ago while he was still alive, obviously. Over here is Thurston Moore and a gentleman called Mats Gustafsson in a double exposure. These are all analog photographs. I've got hundreds of portraits like these that I don't really know what to do with. Tile grout is maybe not something you'd expect to see when working with terrain and dioramas and board building and stuff like that, but it's so good for dust and just dirt, that kind of stuff. It's messy, but it's cheap. Those two things usually come hand in hand. Tile grout. And while we're here, sawdust. I mean, it's free if you know someone with a wood workshop, but it's also, I don't know, it can be used for sort of things like grass instead of flock, but particularly mixed into like an acrylic paste. Yeah, I showed one earlier. And it can make some great sort of texture pastes and stuff, especially when there's varied sizes like there is in here. Lovely stuff, sawdust. I wanted to show you some minis that I'm really looking forward to painting whenever I can find the time. These are Infinity miniatures from the ALF faction. They're these kind of like robot ladies, murder lady robots with kind of bunny ears or something. I don't know. I just think the hats are really cool. Everything's just really cool, cyberpunkishly weird. Looking forward to doing that. Here's another lovely case or suitcase or bag. I kind of like old bags and suitcases. This one, which is kind of, you know, maybe not your regular hobby stuff, but we're just showing what we've got around, right? This contains lots of old Hasselblad stuff, really old lenses, and there's a camera which isn't as old but still old. Fun stuff if you're into old cameras. I haven't talked much about sort of rule books, games, stuff like that, but I wanted to share these. This is the Blaster Archives, which is really cool because it's got sort of reissues, I guess, of these different great games. There's Sludge, Sludge War, Sludge Nations. We've got Gaslands Legacy, and this is Brutal Tank Arena. All great sort of indie games, I guess you would call them. With it's great layouts, the printing is wonderful, and just a chance to get these games in your hand. Now, I think I got these like a year back or something like that. I don't know if this is still a thing or not, but if it is, Blaster Archives is really cool. This has become sort of a daily staple in my painting, especially when painting terrain. Makeup sponges. I can't get enough of them. I realize it always sounds like a bit of a hype when new things arrive and, you know, oh, there's another technique. Is this the wet blending or the dry brushing or the, you know, all this stuff? But I think in general, just accepting that there's lots of different types of brushes and they don't all have hair is a pretty cool realization that I've been having during the past year. Whoops. Sponges. I hope that at least was about 50 things. I haven't really been counting. I've more like nervously been running around trying to find stuff that might be interesting to look at, and a few sort of, I use this stuff a lot kind of things. And I hope this has been sort of a fun little walk around, I guess, checking out my stuff. The point of all of this as well is that it's supposed to be passed on. It's supposed to be one of those annoying chain letters that you just can't stop. and you send it to someone and they get annoyed and they're like, oh, now I have to do this. So I'm going to pass this on. I'm actually going to pass it on 2 ways. We're going to go to Miniac, I hope, Scott. If you want to do it, that'd be great fun. I'm also passing it on to MS Paint because I'd love to see what he's got around. It looks like he has a lot of fun stuff. So there we are. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you in a proper video soon. Bye.